All right. Hello, everyone. We are on week number 3 of our Discovery Series for our largest Black Friday sale event ever. I will be your host, Evan Transu, a.k.a. Detective Ev. Um, I'm not feeling good today. And I don't mean that in a literal way, but I'm at my parents', which is fun. That's fine. But I'm missing my studio. We put so much effort into that studio that we have with all these crazy backgrounds. And now I'm sitting here with this door. So I'm working on that. We have a green screen here. Believe it or not, we actually keep a whole setup at my parents'. It takes a while to set up. It's a lot. So, and my first guest today, it's not that she's not a special guest, but she is staff member and a good acquaintance of mine. So I can get away with not having a fancy background. We have with us Michele Scarlet, our second and probably last six-figure FDN interview in our Black Friday Discovery Series. So the reason that we are doing this, we specified this earlier today. We specified this on Instagram. I say this almost anytime we talk about the money side on these sessions. When we do this, guys, it's not because you go into FDN to try to make as much money as possible. That's not what we're saying. But when people are looking at FDN, nowadays, it's a little bit different than it was when it started in 2008. Many people are looking into this nowadays for a legitimate career add-on or a career change. It is important then, when you're going to make those decisions, to know, can I make money with this? If I can, how much can I make? What would that look like? How much effort would I have to put in? How much time would I have to put in each week? All those types of things matter. So that's why we're highlighting these sessions. And it's awesome because Michele happens to be a highly successful FDN. I already knew that she was doing really well because I interviewed her a couple of years ago for our summer open house event, maybe a year and a half, I guess, probably to the month. On a six-figure FDN series, and she has increased the revenue just a little bit since then. I found out on Instagram. I will tease that for right now, and then we'll get into it. So, this is so funny. Brittany said, "No tomato in a closet door. We take you as you are." Yeah, I mean, so I've had this other lighting problem with my studio, Michele. The problem is it's above my pay grade, so I have to call into the people and do a literal consult, and they meet with you virtually to fix it. So I've been looking red on there. I don't think I have the same redness, which is good. Now I just have a closet door and no fancy mic for the moment. So today we will be starting off with Michele, and then we'll take a 30-minute break, and we're going to do a whole money mindset session with yours truly. And I'm excited to do that. It's probably going to be, in a very real sense, a 3-hour session of that to some degree, because Michele is very passionate about that side as well. When we talked on Instagram today, our live before we got into this, we were sharing that she wanted to talk about a lot of the money mindset side. And you really can't get too much of that stuff. And we're going to have different perspectives, and this is going to be mostly Michele focused, and then that other one will be Ev focused. So if you weren't on with Sarah Ball, here's the last thing I'll say, because Sarah Ball was another six-figure FDN. These are interview style. So I start with the questions, but here's the best part about the interview. Both of us, Michele and I, we want to hear from you guys. We want to know your questions. So you are encouraged to immediately ask questions on this. You don't get many opportunities like this. I won't shout it out yet, but when you understand how well Michelle's doing in her personal business, and she's on here for free helping you guys out, it would be a word to the wise to ask as many questions as you can, no matter how silly you think they are. Because
they're not silly. They're not silly.
Because I'm sure consulting with you directly would probably be a pretty penny. So the trade-off today is you get her for free. And that is because not only is she an FDN practitioner, she happens to manage all of our social media, especially for our Instagram here. I was so impressed when I logged in today to do the live with you. It said almost 700,000 views in the last 30 days. I was like, gosh dang, woman, you're killing it. So that's awesome.
Hey, look at that. Brittany Wilson. I'm going to shout her out. Ev, I'm just going to take over your job here for a second.
Do it.
Brittany Wilson just joined FDN yesterday. Super pumped. Love that. Welcome.
Nice. And Brittany's been on a lot of the events, so we're glad to have you. Welcome, Brittany. And I'm glad that you're still on the events. Normally, I tell people when they start the course, just go into it, but you will still get a lot from this Discovery Series. So I don't want you to procrastinate on the course necessarily, but please enjoy the stuff that we have over the next week. Welcome to FDN. And everyone should block off their calendars if you have not already. I've told you all month, block off your calendars Monday, December 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern. We are doing our closing keynote. This should easily be the best attended session of the month. It's super fun. The chat goes crazy. Leah Brueggemann will be presenting, and she is close to 7 figures in her business. If you don't understand numbers, 7 figures means 2 commas, my friends, and 2 commas means $1 million. That's crazy. How can she do this? We'll talk to her on Monday. We'll be giving away an advanced course to one lucky person just for showing up. And we're also giving away some Amazon gift cards to some lucky folks just for showing up. Can help with the holidays. I'm not saying it's a ton, but it's enough to hopefully get you excited to show up. So welcome, Brittany. halfway through module 1 and still shows up to this. This is great. Where do we get a bunch of Brittany's from? I love that. So remember, you are encouraged to ask the questions today. I have plenty to talk to Michele about. I'll kind of set our foundation, but again, it'd be a word to the wise that if someone's coming on doing what she's doing in business, which we will get to in just a moment, Michele, it'd be pretty smart to ask her questions since it's free. So Michele, I would like to ask first, this is what I did with Sarah. I'd like to know your entrepreneurial background, if we can start with that. Were you the kid that, you're hustling lemonade at the lemonade stand? Was entrepreneurship something that you got into later in your life? I'd like to know your first touch with it and what your experience has been so far.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a conscious decision as a kid to want to go into business for myself. My dad has a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit for sure. But he did more like side hustle kind of stuff. Like he had his full-time secure job and then did stuff outside of there, which was fine, whatever. I remember I was working at a gym in high school, and I must have been in grade 12. And one of the members there was like, so you're off to university next year. And I was like, yeah. And I still hadn't decided what I was going to major in or what I was actually going to study. And I had told her something in the fitness world, like in the health and wellness world. And I didn't know for sure. And she said to me, you will never make any money in that space. Like I remember that. It was like I was in the lobby of the gym and it crushed me. It crushed me. So then when I went to apply to university, I ended up getting an English degree because I was like, oh, I need to do something that's more stable. I need to become a teacher, that kind of thing. And then when I finished that, I had moved away from home, got a job at a bank, again, very stable, very kind of typical stuff. But there was like nothing at 22 years old that was like really fulfilling me. And again, not very conscious to that. Always wanted more, always wanted, I think time freedom and financial freedom was definitely the driver for me. And so I took a chance and I opened a gym in Toronto at 22 years old. And so I'm not like hasty. I don't just like make decisions. Unless I, am like, okay, I'm doing this. And I've thought of both sides, the pros and the cons. I understand that there's risk involved in everything. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I remember talking to my mom and she was like, you are 22 years old. You have so much time if this doesn't work out to, redirect. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, all right, I'm all in. So at 22, I opened up my gym, made my first 100,000 that year.
Nice.
Yeah. And was like, okay, this is definitely for me. It wasn't like, I thought 100,000 as a kid was like, how much you needed to make to have like the perfect car and the perfect home and all the things and then I realized that, gross revenue is very different than what you're actually paying yourself and what things afford or what things cost. But yeah, that's sort of where it started. And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 22. Really felt like I didn't have another job other than the job I gave myself.
I'm going to try to save myself here because I know that we're never supposed to talk about a woman's age online. But if you don't look that age at all, then it's a huge compliment. So I can kind of switch this up here. So just to put this in perspective, we won't say the age. Let's just hypothetically, would you say roughly that this 22-year-old was maybe 17 years ago? Possibly something around there. Hypothetically.
Yeah, close to that. Yeah, let's say that.
Well, no, because I do want to emphasize it's all a compliment. Seriously, I'm not being funny, but it is a compliment because unfortunately, guys, and I'm not saying it's not a lot of money for certain people. It depends on the country that you're tuning in from, the opportunities that you have. I get that. The reality is it's like 17% of the workforce in America nowadays makes 100,000. And if you make 100,000, it's not that you can't do a lot better with that, but you are certainly you're not balling out. That's for sure. Like you would never feel that way off 100K a year unless you went and lived in a very remote location and you were making everything online. Then sure, you probably could do that. So I just want to emphasize how impressive it is that this was in, well, again, 17 years ago. There's very few people that were probably doing that at all, let alone you were in Canada still, of course, right? Because you're a Canadian citizen. So yeah. Very impressive stuff. Awesome. I do want to shout out someone here just because I don't want to leave them out as well. My Heart for Health said they're 1 month and a day into the course, just finished module 6 and still tuning in, and it's 48% done. So you're flying through. Great job. And the fact that you make it to this. Awesome. We're glad to hear that. So that was your first experience with entrepreneurship. When did you decide that you were going to move out from the gym? Because this is what's cool. Like I work with these people, but it's not like I know their whole life story. So I know that you don't have a gym right now. I have no idea where this has occurred in your timeline. So when did you move on from the gym?
So the last couple of years running the gym, so 2018 maybe, I started to just, again, this is just the way things sort of work out for me. Just started to have some ideas about moving online. I didn't want to leave the gym at that time, but I wanted a broader reach. I was in like a suburb of Toronto, which it was amazing, and but I wanted a broader reach, and so I started thinking about how could I train people online, or how could I, create a subscription or something like that was a little bit, maybe a little bit more passive. I didn't know how to do it at the time. So it just kind of sat in the back burner. 2020 hit, and we all know 2020.
Mhm.
Well, in Toronto, every gym was closed for about 2.5 years. So it was almost like a forced pivot. I definitely froze initially. I was like, okay, what? I have to go online now. I don't know what that looks like still.
Mhm.
Um, sort of managed to scrape it together at first. Um, I didn't let go of my gym like right away, but I knew that that shift had to happen at some point. I think I let it go in September of 2021,
Mhm.
and then was fully online. I graduated from FDN in 2022. And then that was kind of like my next step of like, okay, I am now, creating a full online practice that incorporates what I have learned from, the exercise and nutrition side of things, the basics,
Mhm.
and then what I've learned from FDN. So the shift happened at about 2020 to 2022.
Okay. I'm really glad that we're talking about this. I had no idea that you had maintained the gym up until then. Like, I thought this was something that maybe like 10 years ago you gave up. So, like, this was your thing from 22
Oh
to
yeah,
whatever.
12
Um,
years. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it was
wow.
12 or 13 years. Yeah.
Well, okay, this is even crazier because Jen Cena was supposed to be on this month, and her husband's doing much better. He definitely he got banged up, no doubt about it, and he got
Yeah.
injured, but he looks like he's going to be okay and be able to heal and stuff. And if those for those that don't know the story, I won't get into it now. She was just supposed to be a speaker this month, and unfortunately, her husband got into a severe car accident. Again, he's
Much
going to
better.
be going through it, but he's doing much better now.
Yeah.
The only reason I bring her up is because like I can't tell if I just work with a certain population of Canadian women or if this is all of you. All of you guys that I've met are like kind of tough as nails, and you still like like you're women, but like you're very tough. You get your stuff done, and you just don't mess around. I'm like, it's just because they live in freezing weather all the time, and I don't know if it toughens you up or whatever. But Jen, do you realize it's almost an identical story, kind of in the sense that she had the gym, it shuts down, it forced her online, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but for her, that was like the best thing that ever happened to her.
Best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, and guys, I want to just take a second on something really quick. This is, I don't know if everyone has this, and that's not to say entrepreneurial skills can't be learned. I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but that spirit of entrepreneurship, that spirit that says, okay, life just destroyed me. I'm not only going to take this and make the best out of it, I'm going to use this as an opportunity. I'm going to use this as a springboard for better things in life. That's a rare type of individual. Again, I don't know. I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't know if it can be fully taught. We'll see if it can be taught today because that's pretty cool to take something that you spent your whole adult life building. You're probably very proud of it, and then hey, I'm forced to show my cards here and throw them all on the table, and I can't even pick them back up for 2.5 years. So really impressive. So you get rid of the gym. And you get into the online space. Now, did you get online before going through FDN, or was that at the exact same time?
So I did go online before joining FDN because I needed to pivot, right?
Sure.
So I forget exactly what I think I like subscribed to an online app where I could upload my workouts, and I still had the community in my gym were still following me because they were all home too, right? So they kind of joined my online gym, but I realized at that point because my health that's where my health journey started. The stress of 2020 and life kind of blowing up for me definitely was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of my health and how I was feeling. And so I started seeing an FDN practitioner. And she was the only person who could give me the answers. I mean, like same old story, right? Every FDN who has seen an FDN says that, I'm sure. But doctors, naturopaths, it didn't matter. I needed to see an FDN to actually move the needle. And when I realized how incredible the results were, and not feeling completely crazy, telling her how I was actually feeling, I was like, this is a perfect complement to what I already have. And how many women are struggling with the same things I'm struggling with just in my everyday conversation with my current community. And so that's when I married the two.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
so cool. And yeah, it is like a classic FDN story, right? We get sick, unfortunately, but then we find kind of that light at the end of the tunnel. And it's very hard if you already are in the space to some degree. It's very hard to not want to go do it. It's tough for people that aren't in the space to not want to go do this afterwards. We have
Yeah.
every career you can imagine. I've interviewed on our podcast, from accountants to teachers to physicists to engineers, environmental lawyers. I met everyone that has come on and eventually done something like this. So was it harder online than in person? Because in person 17 years ago, to do 100,000 your first year, I understand that was probably revenue, not income, but like, okay, not bad. Did you find it tougher to do the online thing, or were you able to apply a lot of the entrepreneurial skills and grit that you had developed over 15 years at that point onto the online platform immediately?
Yeah, I think that there was definitely the mindset that I like, there's a bit of that hustle, there's a bit of that ready to learn new skills, right? I had to learn new skills. I had to learn a whole computer system, really, at the end of the day. I hired somebody to help me do it, to kind of, I felt like I had to learn a new language. Like, ultimately, that's what it was. But I was kind of in a place where I had nothing to lose. Like, hey, I had to learn a new language when I opened the gym,
Mhm.
right? Probably learned multiple along the way, and this was kind of that. And I just was like, 2 feet in, let's go. There was no other option. That's sort of how I think about it. There was just no other option. I'm not necessarily a great employee. Um, you know what I mean? I'm sure you know what I mean.
I was about to say we're both employed at FDN. We have to stop saying that out loud. I will say though, jokes aside, no, because Reed knows this. Because I mean, I'd say this in front of Reed any day. Reed's not an employable person. What's so cool about Reed's company is the only way that you get treated like an employee is if you don't do your stuff. If you do your stuff, you have an independent contractor job more or less, or you feel like you're self-employed and can do whatever you want here and get your stuff done and get the results. That's all he cares about. So that's so funny that this is one of the only places that works for you, because this is the only job I've ever been able to hold down. And it's because Reed's just like, here's the goal, go figure it out. I don't care how you do it as long as it's ethical or moral. I'm like, I can do those things. So it's kind of nice,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And I feel like I'm definitely somebody who, regardless of what the task is, I'm somebody who will put my all into it, because that's a value that I hold myself to, right? Is
Yes.
making sure that I'm doing everything to the best of my ability, because it reflects me in my work.
Yes. All right. So I teased these folks with numbers. Let's get into that. And guys, if you did tune in a little late, welcome. This is a six-figure FDN session with Michele Scarlet. She happens to be the person that manages our social media here. So if you've ever been on our Instagram, all of that comes from Michele, generally speaking, and all the good stuff. If it's not from Michele, the bad stuff, then it's not Michele. So she handles all that for us, but she also has an incredibly impressive business outside of this. So let's get into some numbers, if you don't mind. If you know him offhand, I know that you're a tracked person, so even if it's rough, that's totally fine. I would like to know, if we can ask directly, I'd like to know what the first year online looked like, and then what are we at now in terms of revenue?
Mm. Okay. So I did go through, so I have multiple spreadsheets.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, if you are going to be running a business that's not just for fun, okay, not just giving yourself a job like I did when, I first opened my gym. If you are trying to build something, first of all, your finger has to be on the pulse. You need to know what's coming in. I have a projected forecast every year. And so first year, 2022,
Mhm.
I I didn't actually pull it up, so I just want to think about this. I want to say that I made my investment back with FDN within about 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. So if that was, $10,000, a couple of packages within
Thanks
the
for the
first
transfer.
couple of
So
months.
yeah, it took 3 months to get the 10,000 back, even as someone who's experienced with entrepreneurship. So got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Took a few months. And I don't think I really started until 2023. And at that point, had my online business already. What FDN added to it was maybe about 50 to 75,000.
Nice.
Okay. So like decent, not terrible. Still
Mhm.
trying to find my footing is what I would say in 2023.
Mhm.
Then when I really niched down, and um, I hired a business coach. Well, I hired 2 business coaches actually in the last maybe 18 months. Um, And like we talked about on our live today, stepping into the person you need to become to hit the goals that you want to hit. That's what one of those business coaches did for me. And that's when I saw things really start to excel. So let's say 2024 and into 2025. Now by end of year 2025, I'm 503. Yeah, 503. Yeah, 500,516 is what I have
But that's as of today.
as of today, projected into December, end of December.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. All right. I mean, not that that's not insane either way. I was just like, does that count December and then the Black Friday and all that kind of stuff? So, all right, projected in December. That is
Yeah, so
awesome.
that's not including anything that might come up for Black Friday or people
Nice.
who put deposits down for starting in January. Yeah.
Well, congrats. That's amazing.
Thank
And guys, listen, everyone's results will vary. We're not saying it's identical for everyone, but look at, I mean, I actually really appreciate uh, your openness to everything because, quite frankly, I would have guessed, and this, again, it's a compliment, I would have guessed that you would have made the investment back significantly faster than
you.
3 months. So that just shows even someone with entrepreneurial experience, if anything, this is a good thing because it shows that you did have to learn new things and this is learnable. Like, it's not just because you had a gym for all those years that all of a sudden you were able to come on and make this work and hit $500,000 freaking dollars in 3 years of starting, right? That's incredible. Okay, cool. That will be a good question. Guys, you guys are so shy today. What the heck? There's a lot of you on too. So don't be shy, please. Sarah's, I thought, was so great because you guys start asking questions as well. Let's get these moving. I do have plenty for Michele. I can talk to her easily for the hour and a half, but we will always prioritize yours. So just to be clear then, Michele, is that revenue or profit?
That's revenue. That's
Okay.
revenue. Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm glad that people think about this. So, okay, no, Damani was just saying 500K revenue for 2025. That's really impressive. Yes. And we can talk about how that's possible and how things even get figured out. So I don't need, again, I know that you have your spreadsheets. I don't want to make you have to keep pulling them up or something. Just to give people a rough number, if you had to estimate how much of that is yours, and we estimate low, whatever you think it is, you can estimate low. So if the 500,000 is revenue, what do you think is yours?
My take home income?
Yep.
200.
Okay. So that's amazing. And then how many hours are you
Just
putting
also
in?
that hold on, I just want to
Sure.
specify that I don't take everything. Obviously, I have expenses and I have staff and that kind of thing, but I leave some in the business for tax purposes.
Okay, but I don't think that is obvious. So
Oh,
not to
okay.
them at least, and I don't mean that rudely to them. It's just like that's why I want to break down for them. So you took 200,000, which is awesome, and then again, I love the Canada country is beautiful. The tax system a little bit different than United States, and I'm still getting killed down here. So it's like it's just a battle of who's getting killed worse. It's like it's not really something I love regardless. So you take home 200, and then the government takes another
Takes
50% or
another
whatever.
50.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So let's talk about if you don't mind then, and you can always tell me if it's too much. Be like, Ev, I don't want to get into all that. But if it's okay, I'd love to know where did all that go. So we got the 500,000 in revenue, 200,000 goes to Michele, and then you said you have some staff. So who were the first staff members that you hired to help make this more efficient?
So I have a VA. She's amazing. She works 15 hours a week. Really easy. She takes care of my inbox, she takes care of my calendar. And then I have a client success manager and assistant coach. So she helps me out obviously with the clientele and she has her own roster of clients. And then I have an appointment setter. So that's the team that gets paid for. And then when it comes to just sort of other expenses, I mean, like it's because I'm online, it might be like a computer upgrade or supplements, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
There's not much more, but anything that's left, I leave in the business. I don't touch that because it's about 18% tax in there versus almost 50 if I take it personally.
Okay, so almost 50. Holy crap. Wow. I'm going to need a moment. I'd like to say a moment for the money that the Canadian government will take from my friend Michele. If we could have a moment of silence for that. Amen. Holy crap. Wow. So 18% if it stays in it. And then, so how does that work? I mean, we don't need to necessarily get into the Canadian tax system, but if you keep it there long term, it'll only get taxed at that. And then what, you take it out eventually? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, you have to take it I mean, I guess you have to take it eventually. Yes.
Okay. All right. Got
You
it.
can
So
invest it in the name of your business and that kind of stuff, but like I mean, at the end of the day, if I want to use it personally, I have to take it as personal income.
got it. So you might as well keep it in there as long as you can justify to do that, do other things with it. Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, that'll be a little different in the USA. So in the USA, it's kind of weird. Um, you can play a lot of games here. And when I say games, I'm talking totally legal stuff. So if you're sole proprietor, this is why I tell everyone always says, oh, Ev, you don't need the LLC when you start an FDN. Yeah, you're right. You don't need an LLC. You can risk your assets and do whatever you want. That's fine. Or you can say, I'm going to be serious about this. I'm not only going to set a goal to make $10,000 in a year, and I'm actually going to go put effort into my business, because that is when an LLC is worth it, is when you're actually making some money. So if you're doing a sole proprietorship, they are going to crush you. The government, I don't care who the president is. We're not talking about presidents right now. The government in general is going to crush you and punish you for being a sole proprietor. And they're going to say, we're going to take extra tax for that. And you're going to give us the personal stuff. It's crazy. Versus you start learning with an accountant. Go to an accountant. Everyone's situation is different. You go to that accountant and you learn how to structure the LLC, or maybe yours is better off with a little bit of S Corp action, whatever might work. And then you actually overall can still have a better quality of life, be paying less taxes, but you got to know how to play that game. So getting a good accountant involved is always a good way to start. Because in the US, we reward people for owning businesses that know how to play the game. That's the thing. And there's always levels to it. What the heck do I know, right?
Oh,
I
I
know
was
some
just
things.
going to say that. Yeah.
No, yeah, there's levels to this, man. Then there's people that are bringing in millions, and it's like, well, go look up Warren Buffett's example for his personal income. Right, his personal income most year is $100,000.
Oh, yeah.
That is, so he's making less, supposedly, than Michele and I. No, that is called a genius man who has spent his whole life reading and knows how to play that game. And yet, so he's top five.
He probably
top 10
pays that to his accountants to make sure that it looks okay.
And come on. Top 5, top 10 on the Forbes list, but his personal income's $100K.
Right.
And you might be someone, by the way, I do respect everyone's differences with this. I really genuinely do. You might be someone that says, Ev, I don't like that. That's fine. You don't have to like that, and you could vote to change that. The reality is, it is legal, and he's not doing anything wrong, right?
Oh.
They're trust me, they're looking at Warren Buffett. they're going to catch if he's doing something wrong. So don't hate the player, hate the game. And if you'd like the game changed, you do have the ability to do that with your voice and your vote. So that's fine, because I know some people don't like it even though it's legal. But I'm just letting you guys know there is different ways to play that. So we talked about giving those numbers. What's the overhead? I think that makes sense because, if you count the staff as overhead, fine. You listed that off. I don't think it's appropriate to list off staff numbers or ask you that live. That's ridiculous. But in terms of overhead, let's say with softwares and stuff, what's your tech stack? Like, what are you really spending per month to manage all this?
Yeah, so I was just actually doing my spreadsheet for my ads, and I spend about $1,000 to $2,000 a month in ads.
Okay, thank you. We got JM Ellis. Roughly how much money do you annually in marketing and advertising? So that kind of helps with this one.
Yeah, so $1,000 to $2,000 a month in ads. Right now, definitely plan on increasing that for next year. I'm trying to think. I hate that there are so many apps and so many tech things that you have to have, but I probably spend $1,000 in that kind of stuff a month.
Yeah.
My podcast, Riverside. Then there's Canva, and gosh, I don't even know at this point. I have I have my app. I have my own app. That's another $1,500 USD a year. That's kind of annoying that there isn't just like one thing that just gives me everything that I need.
In Canada, especially with the numbers that you're doing, do you guys, like in the US, I would almost never worry about what you just said, only because at that revenue, almost certainly I'd be able to write a lot of that off and not think twice about it. It's not that simple. I'm not saying it is, because everyone always says the write-off thing. Okay, well, guys, you need revenue before writing off matters, just so you guys know. But your revenue is good. So do you not have exactly the same benefits in Canada? Or
yeah, we write off the HST, or the tax, basically, the sales tax. And that's fine. It's fine. I just find it annoying. Like if I were to look at my credit card statement at the end of the month and I'm like, wow, I've got like 20 different things that I pay for. And that's not to say that you have to have those things. I am actually right now in a bit of a transition of leaving where my website is hosted and, maybe going to another one, but I'm just testing it out first to see if I like it. So I'm currently paying for both. I'm trying to make it more efficient. ManyChat, things like that, automations and stuff that we need. You don't actually need them all, especially if you're somebody who's just starting out and you maybe don't have a big following and you're just trying to get your feet wet. You don't need all of that stuff. Right. I need it because I can't spend my time answering every single person in a DM.
Correct. Well, that is the amazing thing about a lot of the tech stacks is, yes, no one, guys, I hope this is clear, but just because we have different levels of experience here, that's fine. no one on day one needs the stuff that she's talking about at
No.
all. So a lot of these programs even scale with the contacts that you have. So it's great. What they're basically saying is we're barely taking anything from you anyway, and as you
Mhm.
make more money, we're just going to continue to barely take anything. It's really not. I mean, I'm just grateful for it. You know what real overhead is. You had a damn gym. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
that's real
Yeah.
overhead. I had an in-person business with my wife for 3 years. That made me so grateful. I literally said I'm never doing this again. Because I did online most of the time, went in person thinking that was a smart idea, and it was kind of a pivot because of COVID. You and I briefly talked about this before, which sounds like the opposite of what you do, but there was a reason for it. And then I was like, this is so comparatively hard and
Yeah.
stressful. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have to do this. So I'm not saying don't open an in-person business if it's your passion. Everyone and their brother wants to open up a restaurant somewhere warm and sunny when they're like, 55, 60. I get that. But like, that's not for me, man. I would never do that again unless I could pay cash for everything and literally not think about it if I lost it all.
Mhm.
I hated the stress from that. So this is nothing to be able to do the numbers that you're doing. The tech stack is nothing. It is the best time in history to do business. It's such a cool time.
100%. I just find it annoying, is that's how
Of
I would
course,
describe
I'm with you. Yes. Um, this is so funny. If I remember correctly, Holly, she's been on all month. I think she is in Canada. She said the moment of silence was so warranted. Yes.
it.
All right. And Dawn, I always appreciate your comments, Dawn, and I mean that seriously because she's been so appreciative of everything that we've done with all these events. And she said putting all these trainings together and how many options we have is very encouraging. And yes, that's exactly the point. We want to show you people that go work jobs and do $40,000 a year afterwards. That's
Mhm.
fine. Maybe
Mhm.
they want to add something onto their family. Maybe they don't even rely on that income. And this is a passion project. That's cool. And
Yeah.
then you get, those tough Canadian women like Michele that are like, bam, I'm going for $500,000, baby. And that's what's happening. I'm sure your projections for 2026 are even higher knowing you. So you find who you resonate with because there's many ways to do it and be an FDN and still be a success. I'm going to talk about this later, but I always love Earl Nightingale's definition of success. It has nothing to do with money. He said it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And you know what that means? You can be a success overnight, literally. Because if I set some goals for myself that are worthy, some ideals that are worthy, and I start to make progress towards them, I'm already a success. The
Mhm.
rest is just waiting for the results that I want with that success. Let's see if we got any. Oh, perfect. Another questions here. Thank you, guys. Megan, how did you identify your niche? So you did mention, I believe, in 2023 is where you really dialed that in. How did you figure out that was right for you, and what was it?
So I tried to change. I tried to change my niche from like women in weight loss, which I had been doing when I owned my gym. I tried to change it because I wanted to do something that felt a little bit, I guess, deeper, not physically, even though we're going to talk about gut in a second. Um, just like more, how do I want to say it? Less superficial. Um, and it, so I struggle with gut issues. And so I was like, there's so many women who struggle with gut issues and hormones. So like, why don't I like niche into that? And then I kind of realized that wasn't exactly a niche, right? Like it's not solving a problem to be like, oh, you have gut issues, I'm going to solve it. It's not exactly marketable that way. And then I kept being drawn back to women in weight loss. So I had to kind of reconcile with myself to be like, hang on a second. There are always going to be women who want to lose weight. And it doesn't need to be a bad thing. Similar to money mindset, it doesn't need to be a bad thing for women to want to feel their best, want to look their best, um, at any age. And why shouldn't women have that right? Right? Whether they're 30 or 40 or 50, like, why shouldn't they feel fit and beautiful and all the things? And once I reconciled that, I was like, I think it was at a time when all on social media, people who wanted to lose weight or wanted to look fit or feel good, they were actually kind of being bashed a little bit, like they were superficial and they were a part of diet culture and they were putting other women down. If I wanted to lose weight, it meant that I was like looking down on women who didn't, or they weren't, or I wasn't accepting my body or something. And so that's what I had to reconcile anyway. And so once I did, I was like, no, you know what? Women want help in this direction. If it's not going to be me that I already have 16 years experience doing, then it's going to be somebody else. And so that's when I decided I was kind of going all in and unapologetically going all in on women's weight loss.
Okay, so if I were to ask you, not to put you on the spot, but if I were to ask you like your elevator pitch, then I'm Michele Scarlet and I do like what? Like what do you say nowadays?
I help perimenopausal women navigate midlife without this isn't exactly it, I suppose, but navigate midlife relatively easily or effortlessly and help them lose weight and feel great in their skin for decades to come.
Sweet. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that one. And we'll keep again, I will always prioritize your guys' questions and comments. So what are your specific offers? You told me one recently. I admit it's very unique, and I think it was very cool the way that you have that structured. We don't have to get into those specifics if you'd like to keep some of the stuff to yourself, but I think when OB's asking this, because we've talked about this before in the Black Friday series, they more mean like, is it only one-on-one? How long is it? Is there group coaching? Those types of things is probably what they're looking for.
Okay. Yeah. So I have three offers at the end of the day. And one is like a foundational offer, which basically it's just like introductory, getting their feet wet, building a little bit of trust, showing them what we can do in a shorter period of time. Then we move through, and that is a hybrid program. That is one-on-one calls once a month, but they also have the opportunity to jump in on group calls. Plus, inside my app, there is a whole community that they get access to. Then we move into once they're like, hey guys, I'm seeing incredible results. It doesn't only take a couple of months to get, to that fully healed place. And especially when it comes to weight loss, depending on how much you have, then I have a larger offer at the end of the day. And that takes them further and deeper into their healing process. And it takes a little bit longer. And then once we're through that, we move into sort of like an alumni program, which is like a very, minimal month-to-month offer. They get the community, they get the group training or the group chat rather. And then in that program, they get access to labs sort of like a la carte. So if somebody were to message me and say, hey, I know you run a Dutch test or you run a GI map, can you run it on me and then just give me a program? That's not something that I do. I don't feel, if any of you guys know FDN's methodology, or if you're already in the program, you know that we don't just run one lab and see a result and go, hey, we're treating that thing. So I refuse to do that. Once I've worked with somebody for a year, and they're still sort of in my world and I know what's going on with them, then we will run retests and they will have access to that.
So I know a lot of FDNs that do longer term programs, but you're up there. I mean, you're working with a lot of these people for a full year, and it's not that you're saying that it takes that time to make significant progress, but like, yeah, if you're trying to heal years or decades worth of stuff, it might take that long to be like, hey, I think I feel 100% now. So guys, remember, usually, and this is kind of the amazing part of our work, the initial 60 to even 80% feeling better, you can almost always get that in 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
Almost always. If you want to get off those last percentage points, though, it's kind of funny. That could take, years, but you already have the client involved. They're happy. I was happy myself. I've been on the other end of this. You've been on the other end of this. Once you get 60, 70% better in a few months, you feel great. You want to keep doing this. But then just to be clear, like you're working with most clients for like 6 months plus.
Oh yeah. I have some clients that I've been with, like that moved with me from the gym into online training, into like my FDN offers, and are still going. I think a lot of people want accountability as well as an actual protocol, right? So a coach that's actually able to meet with them and be like, okay, where are we? What are we feeling today? Looking at the metabolic scorecard and moving them through, moving them through Christmas, moving them through the holidays, moving them through stressful times in their life. There are ebbs and flows always. And so I do have people that have been with me for years.
Gotcha. Got another comment here. Thank you so much, Damani. These are my favorite trainings and webinars because it really grounds the business aspect that lets us help people heal without destroying ourselves financially. Yes, we love that. And guys, by the way, we always accept feedback as well for where we can improve. I always ask, let's not, even if it's respectful, let's try not to do that when a speaker's on, but anything, we always send like surveys out normally after our events and try to get feedback and stuff. So we always like to know what we can do better. But yes, to Damani's point here, this has been, the six-figure FDN sessions have been a fan favorite now. We do that in June a lot. We've done that for the last couple of years. And you just get to hear so many different ways to do it. It's like I never can find an FDN that's really identical to another one. They always end up kind of building it different. Their offers end up being a little bit different, which is cool. It shows you that there's, again, ways that you can do this that resonate with you because it's not going to be the same for everyone. So if there's no other questions right now,
I actually have one thing I want to say to that point.
Yes.
I want everybody to understand that. So I've been doing, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 17 years or about, approximately, whatever. We don't need to go into detail about that, right, Ev? Things will always evolve. So the offers that I had in 2022 when I first graduated evolved. It didn't work quite the way I wanted it to, and I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see, and so I needed to work it. And so what I have today is definitely working for today, hoping that it's going to be working into 2026. But like, let's not get stuck on the one thing that's going to be the thing that works, because you're always going to be shifting, you're always going to be learning. And that's not to discourage you, that's to like allow yourself to be a little bit flexible and give yourself grace to be like, you know what, I don't want to offer that anymore, that's not working for me the way that I want. I think that it's going to evolve into this, and I
Yes.
think that that's okay. So don't get too stuck on what I offer, or Jensino offers, or Sarah Ball offers. It will forever evolve for you.
Thank you. I don't want to derail what I was going to say, but again, I'll throw those first. So I don't feel like you will mind this. That's why I'm asking this as well. Like, would you mind detailing the price of your offers and memberships, even if you want to give rough numbers? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So introductory offer is approximately $3,000. Then the longer term offer is about $6,000, and my sort of like alum membership program is $69 a month.
That first part is the unique part that I've never, guys, I talk to FDNs all the time. And even like on the podcast, there's a whole, I know that you guys can't really see this per se, but there's a whole behind the scenes studio that we have here. So when I click the end stream, you still get to talk to them. And the privilege of being a podcast host is it's almost like therapy, right? They confide in you, they share stuff with you. I've never seen an FDN do it exactly the way that you do it. I think it's so smart, because $3,000 actually in this space is a lower price point. I know that we're blowing people's minds today, but that is a lower price point. So I think it's so interesting that you get them in with this, do some of the deepest healing for that 3,000. So they're really giving them a ton of value, and then upselling into that $6,000 thing. I mean, that's brilliant.
Well, thank you.
I agree. Awesome. All right, Dr. LaFara, how do you navigate Facebook ads when speaking about helping people heal or reverse certain chronic conditions without being flagged? So this again assumes that you're doing, I don't know if you're doing Instagram ads, Facebook ads, or what kind of paid advertising you're doing.
So yeah, so when it comes to marketing, I actually don't use those words at all. So I don't know if that helps or not. Because I speak to women who are looking for weight loss, we speak to the result. We don't speak to the process.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if you're a medical doctor, Dr. LaFara. Potentially you'd be able to. I don't actually know the rules for Facebook when it comes to that. But yeah, when it comes to marketing in general, not just Facebook, just marketing that works, we don't market the journey. The journey, nobody really cares about. If you've got IBS, or you're struggling with acne or weight loss resistance, nobody cares how you're going to help them. They want to know that it's going to help. So I think, I don't know if I've said it on here before, Ev, or you and I've talked, I don't know if I've said it publicly. You're not selling somebody the flight, you're selling them the vacation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I just don't use those words.
I also, Dr. LaFar, I can help you very easily with this, because I love Facebook advertising. I've done it for years. So this is like kind of the best little secret that ever happened. And AI is not perfect, but it's great for this. I've had a literal 100% success rate with this. So Dr. LaFar, I'll take the copy. And sorry, for those who don't know what copy is, copy just means the words that you're using, like in the ads, or if you're reading someone's sales page, the words there, that's sales copy. That's what that is. Dr. LaFar, obviously I'm not talking to you. I know that you probably know this. So you want to know the best way to stay compliant? You take your copy that you have, put it into ChatGPT, and say, I need this to be Facebook advertising compliant, please. And it will shift it around for you. I am not an expert in that sense, but I've had 100% success rate with ChatGPT being able to do that for me. Because for those that are not aware of anything with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and again, you don't need that at all, let alone in the beginning of your business. This is something that can be used as a tool later on, and you better know what you're doing or consult with someone who knows what they're doing, because it's not so fun screwing around with it the first time and losing money. But assuming that you know what you're doing to any degree, plugging that into ChatGPT to making sure it's compliant is nice, because guys, Facebook has this insane encyclopedia level compliance list, and it's ever changing. You can't keep up.
No.
And they don't care, by the way. So they'll shut down your account because there's a million other people that want to do this and give them money. So they'd rather keep their consumer safe, fair enough, and not deal with you and flag you and then move on to the next advertiser. So it is your responsibility. It's like knowing the laws when you go into a new country or whatever. We had that basketball player a few years ago, and I'm not saying I want this to happen to the person. I'm just saying you got to be aware of stuff. This basketball player from the U.S. Michele, brought over, like, in a plane, like, medical marijuana to Russia, and, like, got arrested for it. Like,
Oh,
you
wow.
can't be doing that. But it's her responsibility to have known that you
Yeah.
got to go to Russia and can't bring medical marijuana on the plane to do that, right? So same thing with Facebook. They don't care. They're very unempathetic about it. So putting it into ChatGPT has worked really well for me. Good little trick for you guys.
Yeah.
Now we're moving. Wellness by Masha said, "Does that include any testing?" So they were referring to your $3,000 and $6,000 thing, and I believe your $3,000 one does, right?
3,000. Yeah, it includes. I think I saw somebody what labs does it include. So it includes the GI map, it includes the Dutch, and it includes the HTMA.
Very cool. So when you go to that 6,000, though, is that retesting any labs, or is that
No,
just coaching now?
no, that's just coaching.
Oh, brilliant. All right, Angelique, can you speak how you navigate, or speak excuse me, you navigate increasing the prices of your programs? Any advice to know when and how to increase your program costs?
Interesting. If you give me a second here, I think that, well, one, I don't like to think about what goes on in other practitioners' world. So there are a lot of people that will kind of compare where they are with somebody else. And first and foremost, get out of the comparison game, because you can stand apart. We know people who charge $10,000 for their programs. And we know people who charge $1,500 for their programs. So it can range in anywhere. So don't compare. So it's interesting, because I've been toying with this thought a little bit. Who are you attracting with the price that you have set, right? That's number one. I have found recently that my price point isn't actually attracting the majority of my ideal client, believe it or not. And that can shift. Like I said, it evolves. So it was working really well earlier this year. And then I started noticing throughout my conversations with people that people weren't actually qualified to be a part of that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to reduce my price. As a business owner, and please, guys, remember that I'm not somebody who's just in this for money, but I do work and I do put in a lot of hours. And that means that I don't want to waste my time talking to people who, at the end of the day, like, aren't even qualified, whether they want to do it or not. If they aren't qualified, then it's not necessarily something that I want to be spending, 5 or 6 hours a week talking to these people. And that sounds awful to say, but I don't know how else to say that. So if you set your bar a little bit higher, are you going to be attracting the people who are already going to say, hey, like, yeah, I'm all in to do this. You also, I'm very much filtering myself, and I'm trying not to, because I don't want you guys to think that I am just in this for money. But when you set yourself apart when it comes to the cost, I don't think you actually have to justify it. Now, do I think you should set yourself at $15,000 and just be like, well, whatever, that's what I'm charging? No, you have to be able to justify it, and you have to be able to show people that value. So I feel like I kind of have a question for you. Angelique,
Sure.
tell me,
Oh,
yes, for Angelique.
I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, what's up?
Maybe for you too, Ev. Maybe for you too, Ev. Like, what are you thinking? If you are somebody who's thinking you want to start at like $500 until you get some, clients under your belt, I always say, no, don't do that. Set yourself, like a standard rate. Maybe it's 2,500, maybe it's 3,000. How much do you want to make off of each client after you put your labs into place, right? How much do you need to make? Do you need to see 5 clients a month in order to make what you need to make? You can sort of reverse engineer it like that as well. But I definitely don't think you should be undercharging. Anybody who joins FDN and has this ability to interpret labs for people and truly take them on a long-term healing journey, there is so much value in that. And if you stand in that place with authority and confidence, the right people are going to come to you.
Mhm.
So I know that's not exactly the tangible answer you were looking for. I think everybody is a little bit different, but I do really, some of my friends in FDN who have just been starting, or, people that I've coached, don't lowball yourself because you don't have all of the clients. Like, set your standard and stand in it in confidence.
Yeah, you will learn the hard way if you do that. And we could say it as many times as we want, and still people are going to do it. I did it. So I get it. Oh, good. And I'm not skipping questions, by the way. I'm just going to this because it was a follow up that Michele directly asked Angelique. So I was thinking to start significantly lower. So that was incredibly helpful. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do that. I think that you hold so much more value. You do have to stand in it and speak it with confidence for sure.
Do you mind if I throw something into this?
Sure. No, of course.
So, because by the way, it's never just as simple as the practical with most of these things. So, everything Michele said is 100% things that I believe in as well. There is a practical way to look at it, though. There's a couple of things. So, when you start off in any business, are the prices like the max amount of service that I can deliver at that price? Is that going to outweigh the overhead? Now, online, this is where people get themselves all screwed up. I almost wish they had overhead. Because when there is no overhead or very minimal, that's when you think you can price yourself super low. Because like it's like, all right, well, if I only need like $200 a month for my website and all this kind of stuff, and like that's actually probably rich. I've done businesses with less than that, believe it or
Hmm.
not. Then you're like, well, I could charge like nothing because I have no overhead. It's like, okay, well, that's great, but that's why I almost wish that there was more overhead because when you're at an in-person business, I mean, the minimum you're going to get away with investing is like $100,000, $200,000. Let alone you got a gym with the equipment or you're leasing that stuff. No matter what, you're talking serious money. So that
Hmm.
already makes you think in terms of pricing because you're like, I have to cover these expenses, let
Hmm.
alone pay the employees, pay myself. So when it's online, that's one way to think about it already. Is like you do need to think about at least what do I need in my life right now. But that's hard for people. So here's another practical two things of when to raise your prices. If you're closing at like 60, 70, 80%, that's probably too much. And this sounds so funny to people because
I
they're
was
like,
gonna
wait,
say
that,
that's
that sounds
high.
like such a good problem to have, Ev. It's like, nah, yeah, but that's not, there's an issue there. There's an issue there. And it's like, if it was a purely digital product and I could have a sales rep on it on commission only, and I could do that forever, I mean, sure, but that's not how the businesses work, and that's not really what makes sense. So you're looking more for like a sweet spot around like a 30 to 40% closing rate.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. Less than that, something's wrong. That could be a million things. I don't know if we're going to get into that today or can get into that today because that's not just a sales problem. That might be a marketing problem, other things. 30 to 40% is going to be your sweet spot. Over 40, okay, I'm going to enjoy that for a little bit. If I'm at 60, 70, 80%, I need to raise the prices now. So that's going to be one time. This is the most obvious time, but I can't tell you guys how many FDNs I've seen not do this. If you have a wait list that is a month or more, but even like I can argue like even like a week or two would still be a good argument for this, but a month or more, you have a wait list, that's supply and demand, my friends. That is
Yeah.
the time to raise your
Yeah.
prices. And it's not like they can't go work with some other FDN that has a different price point. That's fine. It's not like you're screwing them over from healing. But if people are waiting a month or two to come buy from you, and usually that's when you're going to have those higher closing rates as well. It's going to be that same amount of stuff going on. That is probably a really good time to raise your prices and see what you can do. But there's also something to be said, and this is a little less practical, but I thank you for letting me add this in because I wanted to throw these things in there. When I got trained originally in professional speaking, so if you guys are tuning in later in the month, I also speak in schools. I will never forget this because I was already into the money mindset stuff at this time, but it was still something I needed to hear as a speaker. Because you're going into middle schools and high schools, you're like, well, I know that they can't afford, everything that I'm doing. Like I'm happy to just help. Like you get to service based, which is important. That's a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah.
But you can't pour from a cup that's empty. So your cup's going to be empty way fast, and then you
Yeah.
can't do anything. You're not speaking at all. So that's not sustainable. And the trainer that I had said, no, he didn't care. He didn't care if I was brand new, and I wasn't brand new at the time. I was experienced. He said, you never, ever tell them it's less than $1,000 for a speaking gig. I think $1,000. I'm only going in for 45 minutes. And I was
Mhm.
coming from a nonprofit where I made good money, but I made less than that. He's like, you never charge less than $1,000. They won't even think that you're serious, and they're going to know that you're not experienced. And I've had different mentors in speaking now. All three said the exact same thing at the exact same number. And as far as I know, they didn't know each other or weren't connected directly. So they're teaching this all the same because they're like, less than 1,000 people think you're not even serious. What
Right.
a concept, right? We go limiting, oh, maybe I should only charge the school 250. They're like, they're not going to let you in because they're going to think you're not professional.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. And you know what, to your point, like if you're closing at 70, 80%, you are having a huge roster of clients. You're going to be so exhausted by that. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Yes.
And you know what? There is something that's like pay to play. If you are charging significantly less that people are willing to walk away from $1,000 or $500 or whatever it is, they're not going to be compliant in your program, and you're not going to end up getting the clients that you want who actually see the progress that they want to see.
I didn't want to ignore this here, so it's not a question, but and it's a good suggestion. But My Heart for Health said, great add to the course, and maybe it's there. I haven't seen it yet.
Mhm.
Class on how to do ads on social media. So I'm just being direct. I will let you know that'll never be in the course, and the reason why is
Thank
because
goodness.
95% of FDNs will never use it. They really won't, and like they don't even need it in their business. There is a time and place, but two, it's way more technical than people would think, and and again, this is coming from a guy who's like studied this for years. Like I love. There's a reason that not everyone's doing it. It's because it's not just as simple as the ad. Okay, it's understanding the psychology behind the creative. So copy is the text, creative is what's in the image or the video that you're doing. You could spend the rest of your life, literally, even with AI, studying copy and the psychology that goes behind advertising creatives. There are people that make millions of dollars every year because they understand this and understand how to trigger human beings. So there's that. Because you can put an ad out, it doesn't get any results. But then
Yeah.
on top of it, My Heart for Health and everyone that's listening. So I run the ad. Let's say I get a lead. Well, what happens with the lead? How do I qualify them? What do they get? What percentage do I sell at? Oh, wait, I spent more money than I can justify with the sales that I'm getting. Maybe I spent $1,000, but I only get $500 back. Now I'm losing money. That's a problem. So there are so many aspects that go into saying, I'm running an ad and making that successful. Like this ain't like grandma and grandpa's running, a $200 ad in the newspaper for the restaurant that they just opened up or something like that and hoping for the best. This stuff needs to be tracked. Otherwise, you will lose your savings overnight
Yes.
if you actually try to play. It's like gambling,
Yes.
except it's even worse. At least if I go play baccarat or something, I still got 50% roughly, a little less than that. Obviously, house always has the advantage, but at least I got maybe 40 something percent chance. Facebook ads, it could be like 1% if you don't know what you're doing. You're better off going and gambling if you have no idea what you're doing.
I'll also say to that point, even if we did add to the course, like even something simple, it changes so much.
Yeah.
Facebook changes the rules constantly and like what's working, what's not working, what you're even allowed to put on there to the point of Dr. LaFara earlier, like the words heal or reverse, it would be out of date so fast.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to do something like that, here's my humble and strongest recommendation. I wouldn't even start talking about the ad side of things until you know how to get clients without them. That's
Mhm.
important because by the way, that's going to transfer. That's going to matter. And this is me. I would have no less than $5,000 or $10,000 set aside that I'm like, I am willing to lose this on people who are going to help me with this to figure out what's going to work for me, and I will lose no sleep when all that money is gone. So I don't want to. I'm not trying to dramatize this, but like I've been there with it. In-person businesses, whole different ballgame. I could take any in-person business almost as long as it's a good service and they're not crazy people that are running the business. I can take any in-person business and blow that up. The second that you go online, the cost goes up, the trust deteriorates. There's a whole
Mhm.
thing that goes into this. Okay, let's go to the next one here. So Damani, I think might be a comment as well. Interesting note. I've heard that some people are so burned out from being sold the vacation, the end result, with a crappy flight, that they actually do value a better flight experience. I kind of get what they're getting at here. What do you have any thoughts on this? Or
Yeah, so I think also Damani is a health and fitness coach. So I can fully relate to this because if you are, let's use the flight analogy, but move it into health and or like fitness. So if you are a fitness coach or a personal trainer and you are, you know, creating a crappy flight for your client to get there, that means you are, uh, you gave them a nutrition plan that's like such a calorie deficit that they're exhausted all the time and they're not feeling good anymore and they're not hitting their PRs, but you're forcing them to hit their PRs in the gym or you're forcing them to get there 4 or 5 days a week. That is a crappy flight. People end up burned out. Yes, 100%. So when it comes to the better flight experience in my business, the way I sort of look at that, everything is personalized because if you are an FDN, you know that we are not just there's not like cookie cutter programs for them. Basically, we're selling them the vacation, meaning for me, there is going to be a weight loss aspect of this at the end of it or throughout, right? It's not going to be like at the end of 3 months, all of a sudden tomorrow you drop 15 pounds. But I'm not going to be somebody who tells you need to be cutting carbs and you need to never eat, a piece of cake again or, whatever. I do talk about the flight being better than what they're used to, because what they're used to is the complete restriction, the exhaustion, the not sleeping, etc. And that's ultimately why they're with us in the first place, is that crappy flight.
Mhm.
So the marketing, the main point of the marketing is being like, hey, you're going to get the thing that you want. That's ultimately, your vacation. And how we're going to do it is just like a little smaller. It's just not as, it's not the main point of the marketing.
Thank you.
So I think that like my actual thing on my Instagram bio is like lose 15 pounds in 4 months or something. So that's like the big headline, without cutting carbs and restricting your diet or something like that. So there's sort of the flight is the
Nice.
second line.
Nice. Dr. LaFara had to, this was a follow-up from before, I put it into ChatGPT and it tells me not to use reverse or heel. Okay, but then she sees Dr. Josh Axe doing it. All right, so 2 things here. One, ChatGPT is always going to take a more conservative approach. I'd recommend doing that. I don't think you need those words at all. That's my opinion. I don't think you need those words at all to make it work. Now, if Dr. Josh Axe is doing that and you're saying you've done it and it's truly not in compliance, I hate to tell you guys this. So remember I said before, Facebook doesn't care about you. When I said you, I meant you, and I meant me. They don't care about us. They do care about people like Dr. Josh Axe, who literally probably spend $100,000 to $200,000 a month. A day on advertising. I know Mark Hyman. Mark Hyman's is something around 6 to 10 million a month on paid ads. Okay. Right. I know, because I know it's like 60, 70 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a friend of a friend thing, but I know that for a fact. So when you spend that amount, and this is real. I'm not saying this is true for Dr. Josh Axe. I don't know with him. I promise I don't. But I do know the concept I'm about to tell you is real. When that happens, that means you get connected to people who work at Meta, or you might have friends that work at Meta because you're very big and influential, whatever. And guess what? They can choose to turn things on for you that don't make sense for them, that aren't allowed for us. That's the game.
Yeah.
Not fair, not right, but money talks, and that's it. So we got to do the best that we can. We'll stay in compliance. We'll stay in integrity and do what we got to do. I am not accusing Dr. Josh Axe of that at all, by the way. But I'm saying if he is using something that you've used the exact same wording and it didn't work, that is the reason why.
The other thing that I will say in terms of compliance as an FDN, you can't, and I don't know for you, Dr. LaFara, if you are a medical doctor, you might be fully able to do this, but as an FDN without a medical license, you can't give anybody the impression that you are treating them or like healing them. So those aren't words that we would necessarily use in that context.
Fair enough. Oh, this was from before. Dawn says, love that. Set your standards. We got Jennifer next. We have to make money to have a good life. That is true. And we have our specific people that we work well with and want to attract. That's perfectly okay and nothing that should be viewed upon in a negative light. Well, we're attracting the right people nowadays, it looks like, to our thing.
Jennifer, I recognize her from Instagram. So hi, Jennifer.
And this stuff's tough. We get it, guys. Not easy. I'll talk about in my session today. We'll take a 30-minute break after this one. Then I have a whole session on money mindset. It's not a presentation. It's going to be very conversational and stuff. But I'm going to share some stuff with you guys that I got very blessed to be exposed to at 18 years old when I really needed it. This is embarrassing, but this is true. And it's not stuff I ever shy of publicly. Not only did I get kicked out of high school, it is true when I say that, but I'm also technically on paper a high school dropout because I dropped out of the district in and of itself. So I managed to make both of those accolades at one school system, which is crazy. And I don't have a college degree. I have a semester and a half of community college, and I've done okay. I've definitely done okay. So there are principles that I know work, and we'll talk about those later. In addition to why it's not a bad thing. There is a way to earn income without screwing people over, without doing something bad. And in fact, I can almost argue that you're able to do more good in the world as you accumulate that. So we'll talk about that later as well. Dawn says we need to remember we do have knowledge and we can help others. It's up to them to make the changes, and that shouldn't change what we know and have to offer. Again, really
100%.
This is great.
100%. Love that.
Damani, again, as a health and fitness coach, I had a funny experience with my ideal client. I told him my full price and he said, per month? That's reasonable, but my price was for 4 months total, not monthly. I haven't had that exact situation, but Michele, I feel like you just had that moment too where we've all had, if you've been in business long enough, we've all had that type of situation. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Isn't it? It
honestly,
shatters your mind.
It is so amazing when you talk to people and they truly understand your value. It validates that. And so, Damani, good for you. And I hope that you take that. And if you, I don't know if you've already joined FDN, if you're a trainee or you're ready to, take that experience and run with it, because the right people are going to pay for what you have to offer.
Yeah, it is the coolest thing, and I forget I like my quotes. I love hitting people with quotes, but I forget the exact one here. It's something like, do you know what I'm talking about with the client and the wallet thing? It's like, don't shop with your, like, don't, it's something like, don't project your wallet onto your client, or something like that. I'm butchering it. But what it means, guys, is don't assume, don't
Mm,
project, don't prejudge the person that you're talking to and what they have or don't have or what they're willing to do and not do, right? And I'm not saying Damani was, I'm saying like these shocking situations come up though. And sometimes we're projecting onto the other people. I'm speaking for myself now. I projected onto other people and then they're like, oh yeah, can I just send that over right now? I'm like, yeah, like, click. Yeah, we're good. I'll never forget the first time I asked for like $2,000 for a speaking gig, and I was like all nervous and stuff. I'm like, it's 2 grand, but I can do 50% first, and then 50% at the. They're like, oh no worries, we'll just send over the full thing. Like I'll have the check written. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. So that happens. We can't shop with our clients. Wow, I'm never going to try that quote again. I'm going to look that up and give
And
myself
to
another
that
shot.
point, you know what? When you are telling somebody your price, if you are nervous about it, or if you're not really standing behind it, the person will feel that, right? There is a bit of an energy, and like you might be phenomenal. Like maybe you're doing a workshop and it's your personality that's being shown out there and people are really loving it and they're engaged. And then all of a sudden, it's coming time to drop your price. And then all of a sudden you start talking really fast and you're like, blah, 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 and they are like, there's like a whole energy shift. And then maybe there becomes like a bit of a trust issue,
Mhm.
right? And then they don't want to buy because they're like, hang on a second. And it's totally subconscious. But I do think that you need to own your price. And it's okay that somebody says no. It doesn't mean that you're not worth that price. It means that person didn't value what you might have. And that's totally fine.
Yep. All right, we're an hour and 8 minutes, hour 6 minutes in, so this is when Ev goes rogue. I'm always honest with you guys, but sometimes I get a little too rogue with my honesty, and it's like, so just to point out what Michele just said about the energy thing, we've experienced this here at FDN. I will not. It has nothing to do with the names; doesn't matter. But we've had people do the same presentations, and then they're pitching the course. Right? Again, we've told you guys the sale of the whole month, for example, for Black Friday. It's not a secret, but we've done this with different things, maybe like 2, 3 years ago. And the conversion rate went so far down on one of the people. We're like, what the heck is going on? And when we went into it, you know what we found out? These are people on staff. What we found out is one of the people said, well, I bought the course years ago when it was this price. And like, I don't know
Mm.
if people can afford this. And the other one was like, oh my, I made 10X off this in the first year. And that was the only difference. The
Mhm.
presentation was the same. The words were fundamentally the same. But one person in their energy, in their consciousness, fully believed that this was a good investment, and the other person secretly at the end of the day did not. They're like, I just don't know if people can afford that type of thing, whatever. That shows. It's so crazy. You can't teach that because it has to be real, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, even though I never, ever, ever recommend an FDN going undercharge from day one, there is one singular positive to it. Only one singular one that I know of is there is no quicker way to develop that real confidence in what you're worth than undercharging and still having to do all the work for that client because you're a good person and realizing, dang, I did not charge enough. This is way too much.
Uh-huh.
Because there's no such thing as too much work. There's just work that we didn't charge enough for, right? And then it's like we could have done the work, but we had to be able to pay our bills and make sure that we're good, or sacrifice time from other things to be able to deliver on that. So you go charge $500 for a freaking client, man, for 3 months. Oh my gosh! I mean, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I actually think you're doing a disservice to your client in that way, because I don't think you're going to show up the same way. Even if you're a great person, even if you're an ethical person, there's going to be a stress that will be obvious to your client. They won't know why, but the energy will be obvious. So just something to
And
think about.
I will say, think about your own health journey. If you're somebody who's coming into FDN, like you've got stuff going on, like think about your own health journey. My health journey cost me over $25,000.
Mhm.
So if I'm selling somebody a $3,000 program, knowing that in 4 months they're going to feel completely different, that's the energy I'm coming from. I
Mhm.
went through failed doctor's visits and specialist visits and naturopaths to get to the person that could actually help me. Your people are probably in the same position,
Yep.
right?
Beautiful.
So, yeah, I highly encourage you to think about your own too.
Oh, by the way, I do have to go to this first. Damani had said taking the onboarding practical in December. Nice.
Woo! Great
See, only
job.
the sad. Uh, OB had asked, what EHR or similar platform do you use and why do you like it? I don't even know what an EHR is.
I don't know what EHR is either.
I'm
Can
guessing.
you
I'm just,
clarify, OB,
I
what
got
that
you.
means?
No, I got it. I got it.
I'm gonna assume he means like CRM or like Practice Better.
EHR marketing is a
Ah,
strategy that uses an electronic health record. Yeah. So
so this is actually what I've shifted. So recently, I used one called Kartra in the past, or I still have it, but I'm kind of switching over from it, and it was good. I think this is what you're talking about. He means like practice better, right? F.
okay. So this would be more of a medical thing. For like, so
Oh,
I mean, you just need
yeah.
a CRM that's HIPAA compliant, and that's fundamentally the same thing that we're doing here.
Right. Okay. So I did use one called Kartra, and then I am now currently switching over to Go High Level.
I knew it. I would have bet $1,000,000 that you were switching to that.
Really?
I would have bet everything. Yes, I'm so mad at myself for not saying it earlier because I'm normally the one to just say it, regardless. So
Oh,
yes,
okay. So I like Kartra's host, like so it has a whole bunch of stuff, right? I like Kartra's website hosting, which is what I'm struggling to let go of. But I don't like its online platform. I don't like that it doesn't allow me to connect my calendar. I like to use Google Calendar. It has its own calendar, and it's kind of clunky, and it doesn't have an app. But I've used it for a number of years, and I've been switching to Go High Level. What I like about Go High Level is that everything integrates. So I don't need to use Calendly anymore to talk about that tech stack. I don't need to use Calendly. It goes directly into my Google Calendar. They have all automations. You can technically let go of ManyChat, although I like ManyChat's interface better and its client experience better. So I'm still using that one. But you can create um, automated funnels in Go High Level. Your entire CRM and pipeline is in Go High Level. You can create multiple pipelines. There's so much functionality in Go High Level. I do really, really like it. So I think I will be moving over. I just don't love its hosting ability. So I might stick with Kartra for my website and then hang out on Go High Level for everything else.
yes, and Go High Level as well has a HIPAA compliant option, folks. So
Yeah.
does that? Good question. All right, let me go back down here. What do we got next? We're done this one. I'll unstar it. Dr. LaFar said, I totally believe it about their budgets. I am a medical doctor, but I'm erring on the side of ads going with AI recommendations. I'm not even doing ads right now, but I do like to create reels. So I'm looking at their ads. Yes. All right. And also remember, AI is pretty good at this stuff. So it's as good as the question, generally speaking. I'm not saying it always gives perfect answers anyway, but if you took what was said on Dr. Josh Axe's thing and be like, hey, ChatGPT, well, why is he allowed to say this? It's going to give you probably some type of intelligent answer and insight there. I might go ask that later. Now I'm curious. My heart for health. Oh, cool. Glad you liked it. Thanks for going over the pros and cons of ads. There is so much to understand. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. With that in particular, let's also always remember, and this is for everyone, Reed famously did this whole business with a pager and a fax machine. And still to this day, this business can easily be done by just going out, giving in person talks, and doing a sales call on the phone. That is all possible still to this day. If you want to get into fancier stuff, then yeah, that's out there. And you can accelerate things because of it. You could scale way beyond what would have been practical for any of our grandparents or stuff like that. But always remember, the foundationals can easily get you to 100K.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm not
Yep.
saying that arrogantly or condescendingly. They truly, easily can get you to 100K.
Yep.
Okay. There is 100% the potential for an ROI on getting well. I might track that. There is harder to quantify for the individual, at least initially. But like, yeah, for me, I mean, I never, ever would have had the energy or been able to go public speak in schools if it wasn't for FDN. That's the first thing that I pursued after going through the core certification. I was healthy enough to be able to go. This is stupid. Wouldn't recommend it. I have given as many as 8 health classes in a day online and 7 in person. That's the record for
Wow.
each. So 40-minute speech without any real feedback from the audience 7 or 8 times in a day. Sick Ev couldn't do that, man. Not possible for me at that time. Healthy Ev can do that. So that's not only a health ROI, but I could argue that it allowed me to make more financially too. And it's a spiritual ROI because that's still my favorite thing to do. Love
Yep.
FDN, and
This
they know
is
that.
this is a topic that I talk to a lot of, like for myself. I've spoken on podcasts about it, and I've interviewed like female founders and high performing women CEOs about the connection between their health journey and their success in business. And there is a real correlation, and for myself as well. So it's not quite as tangible, right, in terms of ROI, but same as you have, through my journey of owning the gym and then my health journey and whatever, my income has significantly increased and my revenue has significantly increased. The fact that I have more energy, the fact that I have more clarity, the ability to make good decisions and create boundaries even as my body is healed.
Nice. Another question here. After 25K towards your health, what was the main difference with the practitioner that did it? Did you spend 25K? Is that what you said?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I read the chat at the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
what was that main difference other than just being an FDN?
It was functional labs.
Okay,
Like I'm not joking when I tell you that even my naturopath, what I'm finding about naturopaths, and I know that they're still, a bit handcuffed to regulations and they have to, practice inside of a box, just like a medical doctor. They did not run not a single functional lab on me. They went based on symptoms, but things like cortisol, for instance, just cortisol dysfunction can look like high or low cortisol depending on your symptoms. And you can't differentiate until you actually see what's under the hood. And, like exhaustion, like what are they running, right? What is my medical doctor running when I tell her I'm exhausted? She just said, oh, you're depressed. Well, like, no, I'm not depressed. I just cannot get out of bed because I'm so exhausted. And I think that what I found, the functional labs and the simple fact that most FDNs have gone through this journey themselves, so they actually believe you when you say, I don't feel good, whereas nobody actually took it seriously before. And so they were willing to do the investigation.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Obi. GHL is a CRM. Well, okay, I know it's a CRM, but Practice Better does have specific things that make it more like any HR. Well, thank you. Obviously, you can do business without knowing that. So that's good. All right, we got about 11 minutes left. No other active questions in the chat here. So I had a few more for you if we can.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, based on what you've learned, because you had the in-person business with the gym and you had all the other stuff online now, when did you know to hire your first person, or what advice would you give to someone? Be like, who would you hire first? Maybe it's different for every business, but we'll start with that. Who did you hire first? And then when would you know to hire someone now?
So in my business now, I hired a VA first, just to take some things off my plate that I could delegate, the things that didn't necessarily lead to direct income every single day. So she takes care of my inbox. So if there's, whatever stuff coming in that I don't need to specifically talk to clients about, she can go ahead and answer. She knows my business inside and out. She can go ahead and answer those emails for me. So I don't need to take up my time doing that. She schedules my podcasts, whether it's me guesting or having a guest on mine. She schedules all of that. So it's not something that I need. She knows she knows my standards. So that's really, really helpful to take some of the admin work off of my plate so that I can do the work that, I can do the selling or I can do the servicing without completely burning out. My second hire was a customer, I call her a client success coach. And so she is the one who basically follows each of my clients' journeys weekly and then gives me updates and then lets me know if I need to step in shorter than a month's time. Right? I check in with my clients once a month. We get on a phone call once a month for the duration of their time with me. If there is anything, like, hey, there's this thing on my nutrition plan that I'm not sure about, my client success manager has the ability to answer those questions. If there's anything a little bit more complicated, obviously she'll pass that to me. But again, it's something that I can delegate and I don't need to spend my time working on that. The next one I hired was an appointment setter. So there's always going to be kind of a tricky spot. There are actual like math equations that you can go by, like, can you afford your next person? We need to understand that you can afford people, but there might be a time where you take a risk. So can you afford to hire another health coach, or can you afford to hire an appointment setter or a closer or somebody in sales? So my client success manager actually has a designation that I felt comfortable with her being my assistant coach. So we just moved her we morphed her role a little bit. So I didn't have to actually hire anybody new for that yet. So I went directly to appointment setter. And appointment setter at the end of the day, she's going to be the first point of contact for any lead. And she's going to be the one pushing business at the end of the day, if it's not me. So very easy to hire in terms of, okay, here's your skill set, this is the job you need to do, but even easier to let go. And I don't mean that in a way like it is ever easy to let somebody go, but if they are not doing their job, if they're not producing the leads, then we don't have a business.
Right.
Right. So that's the order that I have hired in. And sales usually is the last. Sales and marketing is usually the last when you are the person who knows your business inside and out. But that helpful stuff, the VA, an assistant coach, a client success manager, the one that you can delegate the things that aren't the bread and butter for your business, those are the ones you hire first.
Right. And then, sorry, because I have a tendency to ask people two questions at once. So the second part there is like, what advice would you give to people now, like knowing like when would they hire? Maybe it's not the same type of people first, but when would they know that they maybe need some help?
Well, I mean, you should kind of know. Meaning, like, are you kind of drowning in administrative work and you don't have enough capacity to actually be the service provider? Can you afford it? And is that not what you want to do? There's a couple of aspects there, right? Like you can either be like, I just don't have time anymore. My calendar is completely booked with servicing these clients or sales calls, and I don't have the time to sit in email, right? I can afford it because I have a client roster and I charge well. And then, sorry, what was the third thing that I had just said? I feel like you asked a couple of questions there.
You don't want to.
Oh yeah. And then like whether or not you actually want to be the one doing your inbox. It took me a long time to not want to do my inbox. And trust me when I tell you, if you have your VA take over your inbox, they know everything about you. They read every single email. And there is very little boundaries with that. So I trust my VA very much.
It's so funny too, because I mean, the 1-2, obviously, I know that you mean that kind of or you're saying that kind of tongue in cheek, just in the sense that there's a time and place where you might have to do some things in your business that you don't want to do. There might not be any money to spend there, but it's so funny how long some of us, including me, will wait to do certain things. Like in my speaking business, I realized it took me multiple years to reflect on this. It was so stupid. I said, wait, I'm 90% of the work here, because I already have some bread and butter speeches that I do standard for mental health stuff. 90% of the work here is reaching out to the schools, communicating with them, and I could train anyone to do that. Like anyone that has even remotely normal IQ is able to do that type of job. And I'm being funny, but I also mean that seriously. There are different jobs that certain people are not able to do, and that's fine. There's certain jobs I can't do.
Sure.
And so what am I doing? I'm like, oh, wait, I just have to give them this. And if they get this amount of gigs per month, because I know this many outreaches should lead to this many gigs, it would make sense. And it changed my life. I'm like, wait, it was so obvious looking back because I didn't want to do that stuff. I like the speaking side. I eliminated 90% of the work. And if anything, I am overall making more money because I get more gigs because that person's only job is to focus on that. And they actually, I mean, I don't know if they want to do it per se, but they're happy enough to do it is my point. It's like, wow, where was that?
I think of it as an investment at the end of the day. Like you said, like if let's just say for number's sake, you're worth $100 an hour, right? And sending out a administrative task, email, or booking somebody in your calendar or whatever is $10, a $10 an hour task, right? Did I say $100 a day? $100 an hour. Like, are you going to spend your time doing $10 an hour tasks when you could be making your $100 an hour tasks or your $100 an hour efforts, right?
Yeah. Ooh, question snuck in here. We got a few more minutes left with Michele, then 30-minute break, and Ev will be back with you. Are your helpers U.S.-based or from overseas, and how did you train them to serve well? Well, and just so you know, Michele is in Canada, so I guess you'd hire Canadians probably first, but what about this question?
Not necessarily. I will hire the qualified person first, but my VA she's in the Philippines. I used her years ago as just like a researcher that a business coach actually led me to her. And she used to help me get on podcasts and do research on podcasts. This is a number of years ago. And because her and I had a great rapport, I eventually asked her like, hey, is this something else that you do as well? And she said yes. And she already knew my business to some degree. So it was pretty easy to get her up to speed. And I would say with her, because it's email and it's calendar related stuff. The time difference doesn't make, or the time zone thing doesn't make or break my situation with her. My client success manager is she is Canadian, but she lives in the US. She charges in US, if that's anybody's question there. And I I found her. She was also a referral. I'm a really big fan of referrals because you have a bit of rapport at the end of the day. And there has to be some trust when it comes to your employees. And she has been really great. And training her, we just took it one step at a time. So her role evolved. At first, it was just checking in on my clients weekly. We would talk about emails, what she needs to say to them. What are the kinds of things we're looking for in terms of feedback from our clients? And I would give her templates and I would have her copy me on those emails. And as we built trust, I didn't need her to do that anymore. I understood the way she spoke to clients. She understood my level of service. And so I've let her run with it. So we start with sort of a short leash, sort of like you said, Ev, with Reed, as long as here's the goal, do it morally and ethically well and run with it. So now her and I have that kind of relationship, which is incredible. And then my appointment setter, this current appointment setter is somebody who's a little bit new. So we get on 2 calls a week to just review what she's doing and look at her recorded conversations with leads. But that's 2 a week, and eventually, as she gets and when she's meeting her KPIs, I will let that leash go a little bit as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be our last question for today, just because we have about 2 minutes. So, Michele, I will ask you one more question here. Just where can people find you if they'd like to support? Yes, they can follow us at FDN Training, but you have an impressive following yourself. And I always think there's something that can be learned from following our FDNs. There's definitely something that can be learned from following Michele. So where can they find you?
Yeah. So I like to hang out on Instagram. You can follow me at Michele Scarlet _ 1L, 1T, Michele Scarlet. Perfect. You're putting it in the chat. And then I do have a podcast, and I really think that the podcast is the way of marketing and advertising in the future. So I do really highly suggest you guys get out there, put your names out there, and don't be afraid of that. And my podcast is called Michele Scarlet's True Health Podcast. And I just think that it's the perfect platform to get yourself out there. I would even say it's better than social media at this point.
All right, Michele Scarlet's True Health Podcast. If we could get a thank you for Michele today, this is what I love about our community, man. The woman's making bank. She works for FDN. She doesn't get anything extra for being here. You know what I mean? Like, literally could not have been happier to help when I asked her. She's like excited about it. So that's the type of people that we have here. Remember, FDN course sale. Largest Black Friday sale ever. $2,000 off the course until the end of the day on December 1st. If you do need to start getting into decision time here, because it is Monday of the week before. So now everyone starts thinking. It is amazing that people like Brittany and a lot of other individuals did already get in this month. We had a lot more than I personally expected. I thought everyone would wait till last minute. But for a lot of individuals, this is decision-making time, so we do have the ability to book a call with our team. I've told you guys before, they have no extra discount for you. So I'm sorry about that side. But the reason I mentioned the call side is so that you guys know that you can talk to someone without having to have that stress in your head of wondering, all right, what are they going to hit me with? Am I going to get hard sold? Am I going to be told I have to buy within 24 hours and I get this? We don't do crap like that. We're certainly not going to do that to you for Black Friday. So if you want a truly consultative call where you get that one-on-one attention to figure out if this is a good fit for you at this time in your life, use that link below. And Nidhi has already dropped that. So thank you very much. Michele, I hope that you see the thank yous that you're getting in, which is cool because it's a delay. So there's going to be a lot more than that. And I will see you guys in about 30 minutes. Michele, any final words of wisdom?
I will just say, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You are not going to be able to run a successful any kind of business without actually getting on the field. Ev, I will forever thank you for that analogy. You can't sit on the bench, put yourself out there. The social media game, the public speaking game, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can't step into that person and maybe make a fool out of yourself, really nobody is paying attention to that piece. Everybody is looking to see what it is that you have to offer. So you have to start somewhere, step into the role, put yourself out there. It's the only way you're going to succeed.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, did I say that?
I saw it in a thread that you were writing.
No, I got you. Well, but you're right, because it's like, it has nothing to do about which way that you do it. That's why we bring on different people. You can do it whichever way resonates with you. I do think there's ways that get you there faster than not. But the bottom line is this, guys. If no one knows that you exist, by definition, they cannot buy your service. If no one
Right.
knows that you exist, they can't buy your service. So that's a problem. So you got to picture or figure out some way to put yourself out there and let people know that you exist. And you know what? I appreciate your generosity in saying you might make a fool out of yourself, or maybe not. But if I can, I would say you're almost guaranteed to eventually. And here is why. And this is definitely something we've talked about before. Folks, the greatest, this is so helpful for me in public speaking and stuff, but I really hope that you guys remember this. This is not just motivational speaker Ev. This is like real. This is true. The greatest individuals of all time, the greatest ones, you got MLK Jr., you got people like Jesus, you got Mother Teresa, not Gandhi. Not only were some of these people hated, some of them were killed
Right.
because of it. Now, I'm not trying to be extreme with this, but the way that I think about this from a public speaking standpoint is I say, if someone like Christ could get killed, if someone like Martin Luther King Jr. could get killed, how arrogant would I have to be to assume that I'm going to put myself out there and not get maybe a nasty comment on social every now and then, or maybe get some comment on here when I do the lives? You guys are pretty nice, generally speaking, but we've had people say things. I'm in front of hundreds of people every single week.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Um, it's life. So you can live in the bubble and we can keep you nice and safe. Jim Rohn talked about this. I love that speaker, right? I brought him up earlier. He talked about this. You can live in a bubble and we'll feed you and you'll be nice and safe and nothing will ever hurt you. And you might live to be 100. And then Jim says, he's like, but the guy mentions, oh, well, what a way to live. He says,
Right.
right, what a way to live.
Right.
Nice, safe, and secure. You live to 100, but you didn't actually live. You can't not start the business because you're worried about someone saying something. They're already saying it in their head. Your own friends and family sometimes say negative things in their head. Do not let them being stupid enough to say it in the comment section on social media be the reason that you don't put yourself out there. It is going to happen. Accept that and move on. That is all.